Hey guys, don't forget to check out the Street Cop Training Conference, April 23rd through the 28th, 2023 at the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center. It's going to be a great experience. 5 career-changing days, some of the most profound speakers in the industry. Guest speakers include Rob O'Neill, the guy who killed Bin Laden, Kyle Carpenter, the youngest living Congressional Medal of Honor winner, Fox News host Tommy Lahren, Navy SEAL American war hero Jason Redman, Sheriff David Clark, Sheriff Mark Lamb, and Sheriff Wayne Ivey. You'll also spend time with all of our Street Cop instructors at this event Monday through Friday. We'll have a great lineup of courses in addition to our great speakers. It will be a week that you will not forget. You'll be thankful you came. You don't want to miss out. Check out streetcop.com on how to register. If you're going to use the room code, make sure you book it from Sunday through Friday. That's what the code's good for, and it's about half the price of the regular rate. But those rooms are running out, so make sure you sign up now. We'll see you there.
111, 110.
You training to be a street cop?
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Street Cop Training Podcast. I'm your host, founder, and CEO of Street Cop Training. My name is Dennis Benino, and I have with me today the OG, original, not the first instructor ever, besides me at the company. You're number 2, but, it's appropriate.
I lived with that feeling, though, that I was number 1 for the longest time.
I mean, you
had to
technically
squash
were,
my
dude.
dreams.
Can I just say something like you technically were, but like you technically weren't, because the other guy just taught my material because there was something going on at the time. It's just a ton of bullshit. I need somebody to teach a certain portion of my class. And he came forward and unfortunately didn't work out. But you were the one who came with the original, your own content, ready to do work. And I remember that conversation. I remember seeing you, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Like, I know you look familiar. I think when I ran into you at the at that conference, I don't want to say it.
Yeah,
I don't want to give that conference any fucking credit.
I know,
because fuck those guys,
know,
right? But like, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I know that fucking guy," right? And then I asked TJ, I was like, "I'm going to get more instructors to work with the company." He's like, "Why don't you call Brad Gilmore?" So here we are.
I'm honored.
The secret's revealed. He happens to be in the studio today. I said, let's rip a podcast for 30 minutes, which we're going to do. It's going to be a 30-minute banger.
Do it.
Brad Gilmore. Brad, if you don't know who Brad is, Brad will tell you who he is. Tell us about your history and just leave out your agency name.
Sure. Small town cop, 2011, where I worked for 7 years. In the process of working there, was able to stumble upon some reputable seizures, which I guess, to say it humbly, I kind of got my name out there, which is probably how Den heard about me. And then ultimately was hired in 2017 to work for another agency in the state of New Jersey. Currently work interdiction on the highways in the area of the George Washington Bridge.
When you say that, I think about when I first started teaching interdiction in this state, and some people had really cautioned me about teaching interdiction. Like, you got to watch that topic that they teach. I'm like, the topic that I'm teaching cops to go out and catch criminals. Like, it's such a wild thing that people are afraid of this topic. They don't want criminals committing crimes on our highways to be disturbed. And, somebody's like, well, I'd never teach interdiction. Then another guy called me and said, you're going to an area that's, the state doesn't like it. I said, how is it possible? How do we serve our people in this state appropriately by denying police officers the ability to go out and stop crimes before, during, and after they happen? It's wild.
That's one of the reasons why a lot of these agencies or units, they make an acronym. Nobody wants to use the term interdiction. You want to call it proactive policing. You want to call it the best squad. You want to call it
crime suppression.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
But when you talk about interdiction, it's frowned upon, and that word is frowned upon. And truth be told, the guys that I work with, the 4 of us, are the only front lines in the interdiction world in the entire state of New Jersey. You think about all the agencies and all the cops out there on the highways and the roadways.
33,000.
Not one other agency has a group such as that I'm working on now. 4 guys in the entire state of New Jersey. It's just crazy. Where are we going to end up in 10, 15 years when we talk about proactive policing?
Well, I think a lot of people are out there proactive policing as individial officers. So as a unit, I agree.
So. Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys out there doing some real good work. So, look at Ferrero. I mean, he's a one-man unit out there.
He's a one-man team, that guy.
He's a one-man team.
Yeah.
And he's a fucking killer. So he's out there knocking some stuff down. And I know people spread throughout the state, they're doing some good work. And people are trying. And, I just find it interesting. If you're not a police officer who is out and actively trying to stop crime on the roadways, which is where we patrol, right? I don't know where else you would want us to go. We have patrol cars. Right. We're on the road. We're supposed to be law enforcement. finding, in my opinion, what I should think we should be finding is higher end criminals. And when we talk about prioritizing an impact to society, that's what I'm talking about here. And I often say in our training programs, I'm like, so interdiction, this key phrase that means police officers who go out and try to stop crime. If you're not an interdiction officer, what kind of police officer are you? You know, if you really think about it, that's, unfortunately, it has been collectively decided that it'll attach to this negative connotation that these small groups like ourselves in the subculture of law enforcement, we love it. You know, like that's what describes who we are. We're proud of the proactive few that go out and do the work that we talk about doing. It doesn't mean we're not here for everybody. We want everybody to learn, but it really tickles our fancy when somebody subscribes to what we believe in and wants to join the good fight.
I don't know what people sign up to be cops, though. I mean, I'd like to think that everybody starts this profession feeling the same way I did. I mean, I just wanted to play handcuffs on people and bring bad people to justice.
Bad guys.
So why do you want to be a cop if that's not what you're tending to do, if that's not your priority of you, you know?
Yeah, Rizzo famously said, he's like, I never understood a cop who didn't want to arrest bad guys.
Yeah, why be a cop?
And what happens is you start into this romantic story that your coworkers at muster and roll call will start saying, well, it's not worth it. I got to end up in prison, blah, 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 blah. Well, right. So if you have poor leadership, bad administration, sure, I understand a little bit of that. But, dude, every day, thousands and thousands of police officers go out into the field and do proactive work. Thousands, not 10, not 28. Thousands of cops in this country go out and try to do a good job every single day. Do I think a far majority go out and are proactive? No. I would suspect somewhere in the ballpark of 5 to 10% of police officers go out and actually know and attempt to do proactive work in the sense of criminal apprehension.
Right.
There are other styles of police work, quote unquote. But for me, as a top priority of law enforcement is law enforcement. Okay. And then if you really understand how to have significant impact, we're targeting the highest levels that we can to reduce low-level crime. That's kind of how it works. And believe me, I'm not hip to the idea that, do I think we're stopping the drug trade? No. But there has to be some kind of continued consequence or fear of law enforcement in the game of illegal activity. You have to have fear of the police. We're watching New York now. Nobody's scared of the cops. It's just, they're just running wild. LA, nobody's scared of the cops. Nope. And look what's happened. It's complete chaos.
I'm going to tell you right now, we'll never stop the drug trade, but the efforts of the team are 100% deterring it for sure. I talk to Mike Vaccaro all the time, Rob Ferreira, Rios, and we talk about how people are avoiding the George Washington Bridge because they have heard of the individuals sitting out there that are really good at what they do. Mm-hmm. So they'll decide to drive an hour and a half the complete opposite direction just to avoid 4 guys at the George Washington Bridge. So we'll never stop it, but we can deter it. We talk about the the New Jersey State Police Auto Theft Task Force. Are they ever going to stop cars and automobiles being stolen? No. They're constantly chasing people up and down Interstate 95 and apprehending individuals stealing cars. Never going to change. When they arrest one other pops up. But it needs to be a priority in order to be a deterrent.
You know what's interesting even about that? Those guys are doing a great job, and people don't realize that cars are being stolen with the intention of being used in other crimes.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that I know for a fact that people have lost their lives in more urban environments, and for some odd reason, the news doesn't seem to publicize that. Yet, at some point, a reaction to pursuits was, we're not doing them anymore, and then we saw what happened. It got nuts. Criminals and bad guys knew that cops weren't pursuing, and it got insane. And they had to bring every chief and every prosecutor down to Trenton and say, "You better switch it back. We can't function like this."
Yeah. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Corey Rodriguez. Corey Rodriguez, if you guys don't know, he's an instructor with Street Cop Training. He teaches auto theft. And I had to call him the other day. And he gave me some information. I can't really talk about the case, but what I can say is Corey is a true genius and expert in this field. He is unbelievable in recognizing stolen cars. He gave me some advice, and you know, you think what trap world is sophisticated, but when you talk about VIN numbers and other things on vehicles that could alert that car being stolen, Corey is an absolute genius, and I got to give him credit.
Do you know how many messages we receive back from people who attended cord training. For people who even just follow our Instagram posts and our Facebook stuff and are like, I've recovered stolen cars because of the things you guys put up. I've literally found the misplacement of stickers. I don't even know the stuff, right? I don't teach it. I'm not working anymore like that. So I don't need to look at it, but my job is to find the people who have the information we all need to know and to share their brain with the world. That's what the whole fucking thing's about. So, I'm strong. I want to say my stuff is opinion-based. It really isn't. I can emphasize my points based on factual data and hypothesis that are basically, without sounding crazy, scientific. I can prove to you that even from just a survey of people, that how do you think we're having more impact? The 12 and the 9-year-old that were rescued from being human traffic slaves and kidnapping victims a couple of years ago, or Pete, who's late to work at 8:57 in the morning and he's Russian. Right. Like, I'd rather see you spending your time trying to, if nothing else, just trying to find human trafficking victims. Yeah. I'd love to see it. Forfeit the tickets. A human life is worth more. And then people say, oh, spade carols. Really? Because I got to tell you, I drive the turnpike almost every single day. And people pass me doing 95, 98, 99 miles an hour. I'm not saying it isn't a factor in it, but they're not stopping that either, right? But there's not like constant fatalities every single day. I'm not downplaying that. Yeah, obviously speed has a relevance in people losing lives, but so does like a lot of things, dude. Yeah. Right? Like massacres. You think one of these people who's going to commit one of these major atrocities isn't going to have some kind of reactions by the police when they pass by them, but you're too busy playing laser tag with bumpers.
Take our heads out of the phone and start paying attention to just behavior.
Tell me about the 11 lives you could have saved if you had your eyes open instead of worrying about. It's wild. And we've talked about this before. If you have the audacity to say you want to be a police officer, which is great, how dare you show up and not give a shit, knowing that people's lives are on the line. Just at least have your eyes open and be curious and that's me.
I was talking about phones. I was riding with somebody for 9 months, training them. And the first thing that I told them when they got into my car was, this could be your biggest resource or this could be your biggest downfall. This could be your biggest flaw. If we want to use our cell phone to contact another agency or use it for work-related purposes to gather intelligence on a particular individual or on a traffic stop, great. But if we're going to sit there at the park or on our phone, burying our faces on social media or whatever platform we feel necessary, it's just going to take your time, your eyes off the roadway, and it's going to kill you. It's going to hurt you. When I worked back in my smaller agency where I began being a cop, I would take this phone, I put it right in my patrol bag. And I remember my fiance, who's now my wife, would yell at me. I can't get in touch with you. I text you. I called you. Like, when I'm working an 8-hour shift. I'll talk to you before I go into shift and when I come out.
I agree.
Do not call me. Do not text me unless it's an emergency. If it's an emergency, the police department's number. Give him a call. Talk to my sergeant. He'll call me on the road. I would never touch my phone for personal reasons. And
how about the guys? You didn't ride doubles. What we did where I worked, you'd have guys who were like talking to chicks. They'd be on that phone. I'm 2-man unit, right? Motherfuckers don't even put their phones down the whole time. Texting.
You were their chauffeur driver.
Oh, it was ridiculous. I was by myself. Yeah, I was by myself. It was ridiculous. It's so funny. You said that your phone was in your patrol bag. I think we talked about this before, but did you originally put your phone in your phone bag, or did you learn that lesson that we all learn when you put your phone in your visor for the first time? If you're new and you haven't put your phone in your visor yet.
What's that, the black hole? Did it fall in the black hole?
No, dude. Like, people don't realize this because when you have to pull out as a cop, you're going to slam the gas. You got to pull out quickly. If your phone's in your visor,
smack you in the face.
Right in the fucking face, dude. And I've done it more than once.
It never happened, no.
You never did it?
No.
Dude, it will fucking break your teeth out of your face. Yeah. So like, and I bring it up in class. Sometimes people are like, we've all done it.
That,
yeah, go put it in your fucking car and you leave here.
I'm good.
And hit the and punch it and go out. That thing slides right out of the fucking visor, right into your face.
That's funny.
The black hole's funny, dude. Yeah, that box. You
reach your hand in there. Oh my God, what is that?
Oh, dude, like that's the worst thing to have to stick your hand down. Dude, police cars are some of the nastiest vehicles on the road. You have no fucking clue. Well, they have rubber mats, so it's all rubber lined on the inside, which it has to be. But dude, it just gets. They don't like. Police cars don't get detailed.
Right.
They just go to basic bullshit car washes. They vacuum them out real quick. And dude, they just, after a while, it's vile.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in there. Just some crazy things.
And everybody works with some savages, dude. You know what I mean? Like, they're fucking savages. It's true. Usually it was the midnight guys that are worst.
Yeah.
So tell us about your classes coming up now. And you can't name locations because it's going to be a timeless.
Right.
podcast, but and it'll be around for a while. People are looking it up. This is 2022. What's today's date? The 29th? November 29th. Your boy turned 41 2 days ago.
That's crazy.
I know. I feel like fucking
All
$1
my
million.
friends are getting older, and I'm staying the same age.
We just talked about wrinkles before. I just want to point out that I'm about 6 years your senior, and
you look good. Very good skin. I like
I know. I keep it very consistent. I have a routine. I've talked about this before.
That's Cetaphil, I can tell.
It is Cetaphil.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a Brickle charcoal wash. We should have them as a sponsor too, as well. Yeah.
So I'm teaching. My classes are filling up for 2023. My class completely changed since 2021. I'm going to say that even the beginning half of 2022, it's completely different since then. What I try to do is, in case I go back a repeat area, and I tend to get some repeat students, some repeat cops coming in and see if they can pick up something else. I want to make sure that they have a different experience, that I'm showing different videos, that I'm staying up to date in trends and hidden compartments. And I'm doing more in-depth discussion and videos on deceptive behaviors, what to look for when speaking with people, what's the behavior, and how is that associated to criminality, and really how to ask your particular questions on your roadside interview. One thing I don't think I've discussed with you before, but a common trend, I guess it's always been a common trend, but those involved in drug trafficking, those involved in criminality often want to have the opportunity to use and exercise the plausible deniability, right? Everybody wants to be able to say that. I didn't know it was there. It's not my car, right? Not my pants. I didn't know somebody put that there, right? We hear that all the time. So how are they able to do that? What's some of the behavior associated with that? And the questions that you need to ask to disprove that plausible deniability. And when you recognize these trends and when you recognize this concept, it's very easy to discredit that plausible deniability and prove them wrong. So my questions are based around building that nexus, showing the jury and everybody else that's going to watch your traffic stop video, this individual knew that trap was in the car because this car is that driver's, right? This individual knew that trap was loaded with money and kilos and guns because it's their car, right? And this is why, or how I know it is their car. And you're going to show their responses to your questions. And everybody, everybody watches these CSI shows and these law enforcement shows, Law and Order. Everybody always wants to play their own detective. You don't need to be a cop to recognize deceptive behavior, right? So when you're showing that video to a jury and they're watching it and you're asking the individual, you have any cocaine in the car? No. You have any heroin in the car? No. You have any large amounts of currency in the car over $10,000? No. You have a gun in the car? No, not that I know of. I don't think so. Everyone on the jury panel is going to be able to look at that and say, look at that guy's answer. What did the cop find? He found a gun underneath the seat. Found a gun in the dashboard. Found a gun in the trap in the trunk. Look at his response. Look at his behavior. He 100% knew it was there, right? So you don't need to be cop to recognize deceptive behavior, but we need to be able to ask these questions in the most beneficial way to increase, I guess, the outcome of our case, right? To allow these jurors to recognize
trying to substantiate evidence.
Yeah. So that's the first half of my class, and then ultimately, my trap trend has changed. It's funny because I was about to take out some of the older traps that I've had in my presentation since 2015, and I hadn't seen one of these traps in a couple of years, and I was about to take it out. So this trend has changed. I'm going to take this particular trap in this vehicle out. And then what happens 2 weeks after I have that thought? I hit the same exact trap. And so I decided to keep it in there because we know that history repeats itself, right? There might be a popular trend in putting a trap in a car in a particular location, and that might be popular for 2 years. And trap builders and drug traffickers recognize that cops are becoming more educated on that particular location, and they're getting intercepted more and apprehended more, and those spots are being founded more. So they're going to switch up their placement. They're going to switch up their location. But then ultimately, it's all going to come full circle. Really what I want people to walk away with is to be able to lay their head down at night and tell themselves, you know what? Right person, wrong time. It just wasn't there today. And we can be the best interdiction officer in the world. We can go to all the classes and talk about behaviors and what to look for in vehicle selection. But if you don't know how to search a car, what's that going to get you? You're going to walk away from a lot of traffic stops saying, what did I miss? Where was it? Couldn't find it. And so one of the things I touched on earlier with the girls is, how do you start? It's very easy. practice. Everybody has their own car. I don't understand why I'll get a text message or a response after class. Hey, I got a 2012 Ford Escape. Where do I search? Where's the common hide? How do I check the concealment or the voids in the dashboard? What panels do I pop off? How do I do that? Is it going to break? And I'm left dumbfounded because we all have a car. How did I get to where I am? I was a mediocre at everything. Mediocre at sports, mediocre at school.
Don't kid yourself. You still are.
Still mediocre. But I'm great at finding things. I'm great at being an interdiction officer. I'm great at detecting traps. And how did I get that way? Not just by simply watching stuff on social media. It definitely helped that I went to a ton of classes. But you know what helped? Searching my own stinking car on my driveway. And I would go out there and I would search my car. And I would, as crazy as it sounds, but I would have games with my fiance. I would have games with my friends. Yo, man, take this golf ball sized of white powder in this plastic bag. Go hide it anywhere in that car. Guarantee you I'm going to find it. And they would spend 30, 40 minutes trying to hide that golf ball sized bag of powder inside my car. And I would go out there and time me 10 minutes. If I don't find it, I owe you dinner. I would go out there and I'd find it. And it got me really good at figuring out what moldings to pop off, how to put them back, how not to break things. I'd like to think that I never miss anything now, but I guess I'll never know until I know.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. What are you gonna do? Like, I tell people at the end of my career, I still would fuck up. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ! I got like 8 minutes later, I'm like, yep, I missed it. I don't know how I missed it. I had a good car. I got talked out of it, and I just off my game that day. What are you gonna do? I had other things on my mind at the time. I remember the last one that I missed, and the guy, I look back on it, he got over on me. I don't think it was anything substantial, but he just brought up his work the whole time on the whole traffic stuff. I could hear it in my head, and I just let him go. And it just all had to do with work. Nothing had to do with the traffic stuff. Just work. And anybody starts bringing up work on a traffic stop, especially in that kind of, not like, yeah, I'm coming from work, I'm headed home. That's a whole different story than no, I worked an overtime shift last night. I'm going there again. I have to go back home, then wake up, then go to work again. I've been working there for 2 years and did it. And I'm like, 8 minutes later, I'm like, fuck. Right. And it was all there. I selected the car for a reason. Right. It's not like I just picked the car to the blue and this is all a combination of things. I'm not saying that just because somebody's talking about work, it's just an indicator that we see commonly with people who are engaged in criminal activity. They try to make themselves seem like a good guy, innocent. I'm a hardworking guy. Leave me alone. It's interesting. You were talking about spending a lot of time in other classes, and we're not here to talk about any classes that you don't want to talk about. You can certainly promote. What I'd suggest that you do is not promote every single class you've been to, but the ones that you find yourselves at this time in your career to be happy with the relationship with those people and found it to be some of the most profound training you took. But also, people ask me a lot about, what classes should I take next? They're not going to pay. And I tell everybody the same thing. Look, everybody at this company is an instructor. There's not one instructor here who didn't spend a lot of time on personal development. And what I mean by that is not like sitting home and lighting candles and trying to get in touch with yourself. I'm saying everybody here is an instructor, spent their own time, their own money to go out and get the training to fulfill who they wanted to be. So can you touch on that a little bit of some of the things you've done in your career? And then I have two more things before we finish today.
So I was hired in 2011 as a cop, and I remember very vividly in 2012 a particular traffic stop. Prior to this traffic stop, I had been to Mike Lewis. He's a current sheriff of Wacomico County, Maryland. He teaches complete traffic stops, teaches deceptive behaviors, and kind of just the overwhelming generic criminal stop that you're gonna make and what to look for. I saw Mike Connor, a very good buddy of mine now, and he taught me a ton of things that still resonate deeply with me. I've been to TJ Cullen's class, who teaches trap find. But at that particular time in my career, I knew a lot about, well, comparatively speaking, not much at all compared to what I know now, but the basis of my classes were in the narcotic related field and tend to focus on the behavior, right, of criminals. And so in 2012, I had a traffic stop And I remember flashing back to all my classes and saying, this, just like you just said, this is here. It's here. Everything that we learned about is here. This is the stop. But I had no experiences in education on how to search cars. And I searched that car. And I actually remember I was hugging my partner, my backup officer at the time, before I even searched the car, thinking that this is going to be the reputable seizure I've been waiting for. And I searched the car and I can't find anything. And when we clear the traffic stop, I'm left literally scratching my head. And I go to my partner. My partner goes to me, he goes, yo, what did you see in the dashboard area? And I was like, yeah, I know. I pried back the radio face. I saw some screws that were missing, a whole bunch of toolings. Things just didn't look right. But at the time, I really had no idea what I was looking at. He goes, yeah, when you were in the front passenger seat and you were kind of maneuvering and manipulating that radio, they were bugging out. I was like, well, this information would have been useful about 3 hours ago. Why you wait until I clear the traffic stop? So lo and behold, several hours later, I learned that I missed 9 kilos of heroin behind that in a dashboard compartment. Damn. That changed my career. That was literally the turning point of I can't deal with this feeling anymore, because knowing, right? I'm blessed to have known. Knowing that I actually missed something in that traffic stop, when I knew it was there, I just couldn't find it, made me recognize that I don't want to ever live with this feeling again. I don't want to ever live with not knowing how to do something, right? I have the ability to go out there and teach myself, educate myself, and make sure that I can leave this traffic stop being confident. And that's when I started to attend training on how to search cars. Again, Mike Connor, TJ Cullen with TrapFind, he's ultimately my boss now. And I'll never forget where I came from, man. They really got me to where I am today.
You had that stuff, and I'm sure you could tell the story now. You've been gone long enough. But I know that your tenacity in the face of adversity at your agency was something that kind of helped you to get to where you are now, which is in a reputable position. But I often think about a story that you told me about being called into your captain's office and being told you're not the DEA. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah. So
are you allowed to tell that story?
Yeah. So I remember my first one, November 1st, 2013, that was my first trap. I was, hugging that contraband in the booking. Thinking,
what'd you find?
It was 1 kilo of coke.
Yeah.
And I thought the drug trade was over. I'm like, we got El Chapo, guys. Wrap it up. It's a wrap, Thinking that I'm going to
Escobar's going down.
That's it.
Fucking the other guy, Joaquin Guzman.
So
El Chapo's over.
I literally thought I made the biggest impression and difference in the United States of America for hitting 1 kilo. I was so ignorant at the time. But it just showed my eagerness and excitement towards it, which hasn't faded at all. Hasn't faded one bit. Still as excited today when I find it. But I think that first time, it was more of the concept of every blind squirrel finds a nut, right? So it was kind of like a freebie. Nothing was really said to me. No pat in the back, no attaboy or good job, except from my one sergeant that was working the shift that night. He was really excited for me. But in regards to the brass and the superior officers, nothing, no acknowledgement. Well, 2 weeks later happened to be another one. And I forget exactly what it was, but in the next 4 months, I would hit 8 traps in an agency where that never existed. And I would hit 8 traps. And so by number 2 and 3 and 4, which were about 2 weeks apart from each other, I would start getting called up in the captain's office. And so my traffic stops at the time were the only time I could work, which was between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. And so I would make a stop around 2:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30, and ultimately get called up in the captain's office. When he came in at 6 o'clock in the morning, he would find out and learn about what happened, what I did, and what I found. And he would call me up from his office down to the booking area. I'd get the phone call, ring, ring, hello. Hey, Brad, captain up in my office. And I'd go up there. And every single time I went up there, it kind of went like this. Hey, Brad, we're not the DEA. We're not the state police. We're not your own anti-crime unit, all right? This is not what we do. Our main concern is the safety and the well-being of our residents here. I don't care what comes through this town as long as it doesn't stop in this town. Wow. And I heard it over and over and over. And I thought, you know what? It's just a kilo. And the next one, it's just 2 kilos or just 3 kilos. Maybe if I hit money, maybe if I hit the trifecta, the conversation is going to go a little bit differently. But then it got to a point where you hit $305,000 in a rear floor compartment. And, thinking that this is going to change the game, his response is going to be different. And to hear the same response and hear, I would much rather you make 1 DWI arrest versus all of these bullshit drug arrests.
Wow.
And that's what I heard. And I quickly learned that, or remembered, it's not I chose to do this not because of other people. I chose to do this because this is what I wanted to do. I chose to do this because this is what's in my heart. This is what I believe I'm called to do, not because of what a captain thinks of me or what he thinks I should do or how he thinks one DWI is more important or how he doesn't care what comes through this town and what drives through this town as long as it doesn't stop in this town because it doesn't directly affect the residents of this town. I stopped caring, just like you say all the time, stopped caring about what people thought, and I continued to do what was right. What I've learned is he's a great guy, terrible leader at the time. And I can't fault him he just had different priorities. And unfortunately, in our profession, a lot of superior officers have different priorities. Doesn't mean that they're right or wrong. It's just it's not one of my priorities. And I can't be mad at him for not relating to me. I wish maybe things were said a little bit differently. I wish I had a little bit more support, maybe different opportunities. But ultimately I can't be mad at anything that happened because look at where I am today. And I think that, things happen to us, because it's part of a bigger picture.
Well, that's the end of it. But I appreciate you being here, dude. We have to roll into our next podcast today. Brad happened to come by and was filming a lot of content for some of his new search videos. You can check him out on our Facebook group. Follow us on Instagram at Street Cop Training.
Thanks for
Brad's
having me.
classes can be found at streetcop.com. Good shit. And 2 years of great things together. Through thick and thin, good times and bad. We are doing a lot of great things for the world, and I appreciate you being along this journey.
Happy to be here for the ride. Thanks for having me, Dan.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Guys, if you're in an area where you're trying to get to our classes, but we're not close to you, fret not. We actually have on-demand training at streetcop.com. You can take that course online right now, and then you could attend that training in the future at no additional cost. You can redeem your voucher, so you get 2 for the price of 1. We don't want to deny you the ability to take this training now, especially knowing that it can keep you safe, at a very minimum, putting bad guys in jail where they belong, and at the maximum, going home to your family. Check out streetcop.com for that offer.